All right. Welcome, everybody, to our 113 stand-up, burn down. And for those who just joined, there's a link to the minutes in the Zoom chat. And please note your attendance if you've not done so. And the usual disclaimer, this is being recorded and will go on to YouTube shortly after. So please be mindful of what you say. With that, let's get started. The only thing on my agenda right now, hopefully it's release day. There have been few release notes things that we are trying to wrangle, but I will quickly turn it to Josh to confirm if we are good on the CI front for release day.
CI really hasn't changed since Thursday, which, in these terms is a good sign, right? Release 113 blocking is still passing with a couple of flakes. Release 113 all has the failing test that we already knew about. So Serial and Soak have been failing for the documented reasons that Michelle figured out. And the GKE tests are still failing for reasons that we know about. So everything else is passing with approximately the same level of flakiness that we had since like Wednesday of last week.
Yeah, and even this in the 1.13 blocking, the serial and slow, is it just the CSI and the entry, that one entry test that's failing or flaking?
I think slow is passing.
Yeah, slow passed the last few runs.
Slow is flaking, but passing. It's Soak that's not passing.
Okay, this is the all dashboard.
The Soak thing is exactly the issues that we've documented, which honestly all seem to come down to probably event messaging. It's entry volumes, it's resource usage tracking, it's max pods, and also resource usage tracking. I would have liked to get things fixed before this release, but if the SIGs insist that they are not blockers and it's on a non-blocking test job, plus the event messaging thing is going to take a huge overhaul.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, Maria is organizing a deflaking discussion to happen sometime next week at KubeCon Seattle. So look for messages for that because obviously the sort of chronic level of flakiness in our test jobs is becoming a critical blocker for our ability to put out Kubernetes. And look for that when she can find a time slot, given that it's not, we didn't have anything on the official schedule. It's going to be a little challenging, but.
Okay. So for the record, are you okay signing off on 113 for release today?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Personally, I'm not concerned about those flakes, mainly because we've documented them and they are still the same issues that we've seen over this release. Anybody else has any concerns around those? Okay. With that, we can move to the next few sections to see what's the status of the other items. Release notes, Mike.
What's up, y'all? So as Aisha was saying, this morning we realized we didn't have the external dependency section, so we copied it from 1.12, and then I and a few other people went through each of them, went through the code, identified what the version bumps were for this release, commented on the doc. I just finished incorporating all of the new updates into that PR, so it's ready for review and merge ASAP. And then the other thing that came up today was adding in a release note item for the CVE that came out, which Jordan did this morning as well, which has a PR that's ready for merge as well. So if anyone wants to, if any approver wants to /approve those,
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That would be great. Otherwise,
I think that one went in this morning.
that's in already. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Jordan, is there anything you want to add to that, or is that?
No, nothing.
Cool. Mike, are all the line items in the extended dependencies, they were reviewed, or are you still looking for any help there?
I trust the content of them to be pretty true, but if someone wants to go and just review and make sure that it all looks fine, that would be awesome, for sure. I know.
Also, if anyone knows of new external dependencies, because we copied from the previous release, we can verify versions of the ones we had previously, but that won't catch new ones.
Yeah, this is a very lossy process, it seems like. I mean, there were a number of things that were in the 1.12 external dependencies that were just typos, like incorrect version numbers, as well as things that weren't external dependency bumps that were in there that I removed. But definitely was something for the retro is to try to come up with a less lossy way to diff the dependencies from release to release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially since most of that information comes from the CI. We should have a declarative configuration from test infra of what the external dependencies are. There you go. Well, yes, but the process is like, go look at the output from in test grid. You would hope there's a way of automating that on the front end.
Could someone please open an issue? Because we in SIG cluster lifecycle, we have plans for the future, and it would be nice to like distill the requirements down for things like bundles, so that way we can address them in the future.
Yep.
Do you maybe want to take the lead on that? This sounds like a cluster lifecycle thing. That you need to specify all of the dependencies your cluster is going to check. Like KubeADM has kind of taken the lead, right, on verifying cluster level and node level dependencies. So you probably have more of a formalized spec than anybody else does. And then in addition, I think that specification of add-ons is also a cluster lifecycle thing, although I could be wrong.
Yeah, and the bundle specification, at least one of them lives in the Google Cloud GitHub repo, so we should at least pair someone with Tim on our end.
Yeah, just open up a issue and we'll loop in the right people. I think release should own it at first because they're the ones who will track it for the release. There's a deliverable that's concrete that we can poke at for the next release cycle.
All right, that's fair. There are two issues here. One is we missed a step in our checklist to actually make sure we have an external dependency section and that we vet it. But I'm saying the reason this task is impossible is because we don't have a formal way of declaring any of these. So there isn't really a list for us to go look at. And I think cluster lifecycles made more of a, I think determining what that manifest is definitely a cluster lifecycle thing. Like,
yes, we have Justin Santa Barbara on our end at Google.
Right, exactly.
Working on that, so we will voluntold him to help coordinate that.
Okay.
Okay. So is SIG release someone from our end opening the issue? If so, me and Mike can go ahead.
I will open them right now.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So Mike, we are looking at merging this maybe noonish at the most. I'll take a look at it after the burn down.
Okay, cool. Yeah, take a look, review it. Let me know if you need any changes. Happy to make any changes necessary. And once that's merged, as far as I know, should be good to go.
Cool. Any other questions / feedback here, guys? Okay. Next section, docs, Tim, chartreuse. We're not able to hear you. You're muted now. let's quickly maybe shift to Cole and then come back to Tim. Cole for test infra.
Yeah, don't really have much of an update for test infra. Everything looks good. The queue is pretty much totally empty. I think there's one PR in it right now. I did notice that there was a bunch of PRs to the release 111 branch, but that shouldn't affect this. I haven't looked at what those PRs are yet.
Okay. Is that the, oh, okay. Is that the one PR or those are not showing up in the velodrome?
Let me check. I just noticed that there was a bunch there. Yeah, there's like 19 PRs queued for retest. Looks like just a bunch of cherry picks. I can, I'll link.
I don't know if 111 release is coming. The patch release is coming anytime shortly, but.
In any case, I don't think that affects this. So.
No. Cool. Tim, are you on right now?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Great. Yeah, it's definitely on the Greenish side of things. Just finishing up some DocGen stuff, so it's not ready to go right now, but hopefully should be ready in the next few hours, and I'll send out a Netflix preview to the Slack channel so everybody can maybe take a look and just make sure everything's cool before it goes out.
Okay. Maybe this is a good time to go and discuss the lineup of things for today. And any of you, if you think the timeline mentioned there against each item doesn't seem possible or is too aggressive, let me know and we can move it or change it accordingly. So I will go ahead and start a Slack channel post this specifically with leads relevant for today's tasks. Branch manager, docs, release notes, and depths and RPM building folks from Google, and then Caitlin for comms. Once that's done, Doug is already staging our mock build right now. Doug, any update on that?
It's almost done staging, but it's really more of a infra sanity check because the code in the 113 branch hasn't changed since Wednesday. So I think we're good.
Okay, so that's in progress. And as per Mike, I just put the final ETA to get the release notes PR in as 12 p.m. PST. And from your update, that seems possible.
Yeah, for sure. It's ready to go as soon as, it's just pending a thorough review. So that for sure sounds good to me. Yeah,
I think a couple more hours should give us that. And then hopefully we can start our staging of the no mock build around 1 p.m. Probably this could move up slightly ahead of time, but then I wanted to give folks their lunchtime anyway. So does 1 p.m. sound good, Doug?
Yeah, 1 p.m.'s fine.
Okay. And then the publishing, I put it about an hour after seeing the trends, so about 2 p.m.-ish. And then Sumi from Google agreed to build the depths and RPMs for us. So I'm estimating that to be around 3 p.m. And then docs, and then would be publishing the docs. Tim, does 3 p.m. sound possible given your the pending items on your list right now?
Yeah, I think 3 p.m. is very doable.
Okay. And that would, of course, if we have any feedback on your preview, then we can go and address that. I'm assuming this one has to wait for the depths and RPMs to be built out, right? Or can we go along with it? I know it doesn't matter, but then I just want to know how we've done this in the past.
I'm not sure about the order in the past. Is anybody else aware?
I think it's more of a parallel item, but we can wait for depths and RPMs to complete before we do this.
Okay, sure thing.
Because anyway, we hopefully will be earlier in the day. So, and then Caitlin, I wanted your approval if a 3 p.m. release, if we get there, is still okay versus the 5 p.m.
Yep, that's great.
Okay, and yeah, that'll be when we publish the blog post and get things going. And I'm hoping that everything will wrap up by 4 p.m.-ish, if not slightly earlier. And that's when I'll go ahead and announce the release. Any questions, comments on the timeline itself? Okay. We'll play it by the ear as we go along. The only other question I had, Caitlin, are there any more media interviews scheduled for this week? Just curious.
Nope, it looks like we're all set there. We have some press interested in doing the media roundtable next week, but we shouldn't have anything else come up this week.
Great. Okay. So that's all for our status agenda. Any questions before we move to the other stuff? All right. So next up on the agenda, I had the theme reveal. Let me quickly copy over. So, okay, for 113, I decided to base the release and on the angel number. Oops, I don't know if you guys can see the, can you guys see the image there? If not, I can include it again, insert it again. Let me insert it. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's what I'm basing this release on. For those of you who are not aware, angel numbers are patterns. Oh, Tim, can you see it now?
I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
I can see it in the docs.
Okay, yeah, in the docs. Okay, cool. So angel numbers are basically numbers with like repeating patterns, the most infamous one being 666. So all of our releases are, of course, angel numbers because of the repeating ones. But I found this specific number 113 relevant mainly because of a couple of things. This number signifies new beginnings, transformation, end of a chapter, opening of a new chapter. So this being the year-end release, it is in fact bringing us a full circle and closing up here and opening us to new processes and releases next year. And also because from what I've seen, my minimal experience in the release of last 3 cycles, we've grown and come a long way, be it early CI signal responses and triaging, shortening the code freeze, decoupling the branch manager responsibilities out of Google, or merge with Tide, and all of this. We've done a whole bunch of things. And looking at 2019, it seems that SIG release and the release team is set to evolve and mature to scale up to growing Kubernetes challenges and growing Kubernetes customer base itself. All our new patch manager initiatives that's going in are exploring LTS, or also exploring feature branches to make our releases stable. So it looks like we'll have a bunch of exciting things coming out in 2019. And that is something that I'm excited to look forward to. So that's why this release is the 113 Angel release, signifying new beginnings and transformations. So that's the, sorry about the long justification / blurb. But yeah, hopefully this fits into the release swag. Unfortunately, I can't get it in time for KubeCon, but there are more KubeCons. If not, I'll mail it out to all of you. That said, I'll move on to the announcements really quickly. The retro is still on track for Thursday at the 10 a.m. community meeting. There have been a lot of good discussions over the release cycle. Please add your comments and feedbacks to the retro. We will make sure this gets folded in as much as possible to 114. The next big announcement is KubeCon Seattle. I listed a bunch of sessions there, which is relevant to SIG release. Tim and I plan to do SIG release intro, which is on Tuesday at 1:45. And Josh and Chuck will be doing the release deep dive. That's on Wednesday. And then, of course, Maria will be organizing a test deflaking session. Maria, when you have that finalized, please drop in the timing here. And apart from that, a couple of fun events, as we discussed on Friday, we are planning for a release team lunch on Thursday. This will be at the event center, so all of us can quickly get together. And we are also planning for a social sometime later that evening. We kind of decided on an earlier time slot, 6 to 7:30ish, so that folks can go to other socials that they might have. Please expect to see a calendar invite from me for both of these by end of day today. Any other Seattle sessions that folks want to call out? Cool. The 114 release, Aaron, still on track to kick off on 3rd?
Yeah, at present, I'm making no plans or doing nothing about it. I kind of look forward to having a lot of great discussion at the Contributor Summit, though. I know that there is renewed interest within the project as a whole to kind of focus on project health, test health, stability, kind of continuing the themes that we've set forth here. But thanks to the work of that Caleb's been putting in on helping us formalize KEPS as a process, finding a way to really lock in a lot more. And try to take some of the tribalism out of keeping all of the plates spinning in exactly the correct orientation, momentum, and velocity to keep everything stable. So I look forward to seeing everybody at the Contributor Summit, and you'll start seeing a lot more from me after KubeCon and the appropriate amount of time to actually take a couple deep breaths.
Yes, much needed. Thank you. Oh, I should have used that one for my release theme justification. Anyway, cool. Yeah, and then 114, the shadow release, shadow selection process. Stephen is here to give us a quick update on that. Hey,
Hello,
Stephen.
hello. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. So one mention about KubeCon, we're having KEP talks and SIG-PM intro and deep dive. So if you guys want to show up to that and drop your feedback, that would be cool too. So the shadow selection process, we're working on, Josh put together lots of great questions around how to choose a shadow, whether or not they will be available, and time zones, and all these different parameters to consider. So what I'm working on right now is essentially turning a lot of those questions into a survey. Initially, there will be a PR, which is almost done. I hope to have it out by tomorrow for you guys to review on some of the questions that we've asked in the survey, and then we'll put that together in SurveyMonkey. So it'll be the official CNCF SurveyMonkey, and we'll so everyone who's volunteered thus far, we'll send them to that survey. And so, Josh, I've kind of like generalized some of the questions for the sake of being able to use the same questions for all roles. And then the expectation being that everyone should be reviewing the handbooks. And then once you have a chance to sync up with the potential shadows, you can make your decisions based on that. So.
Quick question. So a PR is to lock in the questionnaire itself. Is that right?
Yeah. So the PR will be, I don't want to say lock in per se, but it will be the initial version of the questionnaire. Free to edit and as need be, and then we'll roll that back into the survey as necessary. It'll also include some updated information on release team selection overall. Right. So.
Okay. Well, I'll wait to see the PR, because the idea of the original questions I suggested was that they all need to be customized on a per role basis, because some roles need knowledge outside of willingness to volunteer. Some roles are more front-loaded, that is, they're busier towards the beginning of the cycle, and others are busier towards the end of the cycle.
Right. So the reason I didn't want to customize it is because I imagine the roles changing over time. I think if we capture all of the requirements for the role in the handbook and say that a requirement of being part of that role is to read the handbook, then I think we're in a good place there.
Okay. So as for the survey itself, is it something, sorry I missed that part, is it something that you'd be sending out, Stephen, for folks who signed up to be shadows? Or is that the individual section leads are expected to follow up on that?
So anyone who's interested or who is, who has signaled their interest on that assembling the 114 team PR, I'll note once the survey is ready on that PR, and the expectation will be that you'll sign up for the survey at that point.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, if you could link to the PR, yeah, we can get the consensus going there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah. Any questions for Stephen? Okay. That's it. With that, we are through with our agenda. I'd really like to thank all of you. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart for all your hard work, support, and passion for getting 113 out. I know I've leaned in so many of you, right, in the release team and outside of the release team throughout this cycle. And it was an honor to be the release lead for this cycle. Yeah, I really look forward to getting this one out, and all of us can have well-deserved break in KubeCon. So thanks a lot, all of you.
Thank you so much, Ice, for all the hard work you've done over the release cycle. It's been amazing to sit back and watch you just carry the burden so well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bravo, everyone. Seriously.
Cool. I will catch all of you offline in Slack. Yep. And let's get this out. Thanks a lot, team.
Thanks all.
Yeah.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.